I left with a plan. I left with, they were like I was incubating with them, and they were telling me things that I should do in my business and opportunities that would be in front of me. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And from that, it was like five people. From that, that's how Girl Friday started, was knowing that there was a pain point. And then number two was going in front of people who were like the best at what they did, and ask them if they saw that in me, and then me leaving with kind of like the blueprint.
Welcome everybody. This is Justin T. Hall, the Grindpreneur, and you are tuned in to episode 105 of the Grind Chronicles. I have a guest that, from when we started booking guests, was one of the people that I was most excited to have. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but our guest for today is Takisha Bromell. Takisha.
Hi everyone. I'm super excited to be here as well. I feel like we've been talking about this for years.
Yes.
For years. So to have something that we're doing together, I'm super excited about it.
Yes, because we have been talking about it for years, before the pandemic. So it was like finally getting one another in the same room actually have such a sense of completion. So if you don't know, with the Grind Chronicles, we take tangible entrepreneurs and we bring them right to you. Not everybody has access to Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. Well, no one has access to Steve Jobs now, but sorry. But we like to bring you entrepreneurs that you can smell, feel, touch, and see how they have this journey. Because if there's anybody that looks like you and that has done it before, that definitely means that you can do it. So, Takisha, please introduce yourself. Let us know what you do.
So I'm Takisha Bromell. I own a business called Girl Friday Business Solutions. I started, it'll be 4 years by the end of this year. So had a lot of ups and downs in the business, and I'm excited about being here. I also own Takisha Bromell Enterprises, and we do coaching and speaking as well. So I think I can help, your audience a little bit with some things here.
I think so. So Girl Friday, so Business Solutions, essentially is a virtual assistant platform.
Exactly right. So we do virtual executive assistant work for businesses and CEOs, and also for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. So
So I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were discussing upcoming you being on the show, and I was like, well, she has a virtual assistance agency, and they said, what's that? So sometimes I speak and assume people always know, but please explain what virtual assistant is and what you guys actually do.
Okay. So we do assistant, I guess a secretary would be kind of like what you would say, but we do more than that, and that's why we kind of like say it as an executive assistant, because we come alongside you and we put processes and procedures together. So we have project coordinators, project managers, and then also executive assistants that work with alongside CEOs and small businesses to help them not only just do admin work, but add the processes and procedures so that you can scale your business.
Awesome. And when people hear virtual assistant, that they're virtual, right?
They're virtual, yes. Every once in a while we may take on a project where we're physically there, but that's only for a short time. That is pretty much because maybe the CEO or the client needs some hand-holding to begin with, but we're pretty much virtual, and we're across the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with being virtual, would a business get just a team of people, one person? Do they get 40 hours a week out of them? How does that work? We have like packages where you can buy time from us. So you can buy 10 hours, 20 hours, 40 hours. We have, so when you come in to us, we talk to you, and then we set you up with a dedicated personal, we call them an executive coordinator, and they work primarily with you. But we have a network, and the reason why I set it up that way was
not everyone is good at everything. And so we want to find really good talent with specialty, that has specialty opportunities, and then from there, we're able to then use them behind the scenes to help on certain projects, or to help with certain projects and things like that. So that's how we do that, yeah.
Wow. So you are now, I could be mistaken, are you based out of Nashville?
Based out of Nashville,
Okay.
yes, but virtual means I can be anywhere.
So the people that actually work for you that go into these locations, are they all in office with you, or are they all spread out virtually?
We're in Wyoming,
Wow.
in California. We're also in Florida, Georgia. So we're all over the place. And so again, we're mostly virtual, but because I'm in Tennessee, there are times when I will be a Tennessean or a Georgian, because I'm here in Georgia a lot. And so I will kind of like meet with them. But most of the time, this is a virtual transaction that's happening between someone who wants to come and actually work with me, but then also someone who wants to actually hire us on as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to get into the story now. We get it now. For the viewers and listeners, we've known each other for a while.
Yes.
We were PMs together.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Funny story. The first day we met, and I remember this because I'm still cringe when I think about this. My first day on the job, I can't remember if I think you had started slightly before me at the company.
Yes.
But it was the first day, but we were both extremely new,
Yeah.
like within the same couple of days or week. And I had just moved. I still had my studio at the time that wasn't doing well. It was just I was not in a great place. They had the thing when everybody starts, everybody goes get sushi. And I kept saying, no, I'm not going to go. I'm good. Because I had moved some money around because I think I was living downtown Atlanta and we worked in Ball Grounds, Georgia.
That's exactly.
Way out there. So
in no man's land.
So I think I filled up my tank and I was playing with some funny money and I was like, no guys, they're like, no Justin, it's tradition. Everybody has to go. I get sushi, my card declines.
You know what? Now that you say it, I do remember that now.
In front of everybody, the business partner, everybody else, because they brought out individual. And so my whole time as we're going there, I'm like, well, if the managers, everybody brings us out, maybe they're covering it. Is what I'm thinking. I was like, well, I think I have some cash. I think I have, I don't know, $15 for sushi. It declined, and you paid for my sushi. And that was the worst first day ever.
Oh my God. I don't even remember doing that.
In the history of first days.
Yeah.
And when they brought it back to us, it was like they handed out the the binders with the credit card, and she like slammed mine down. She's like, your card didn't go through, sir. We tried it 8 times. Actually, the machine started smoking.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so embarrassing. And I was like, okay. And I'm trying to do it. I'm at the end of the table trying to do it quietly. And she's like, no, I'm not sure if the whole table heard your card.
So let me just make it a little bit louder this time.
Worst first day on the job ever. But
I think it's so important that we help each other out. Like I don't remember doing that, but I know that I would have done that because I think we were maybe at that time the only black people there.
I think we were. We were the only 2 people of color. Yes. So that's how, I don't want to say be too dramatic. It's not traumatizing, but I think about that. I've had lots of jobs, and that has to be the worst first day ever. I mean, I've had first days where I got fired that same day, and this was still the worst day ever. But I digress. But that's how. So we were project managers. You now, have you been in Girl Friday full time for 4 years, or were you still working?
No, 4 years
full time.
Yes.
So I would like to know that transition of how you went from an employer to employee to employer, and also what did you see that led you to this business? Because we have lots of people on the show that talk about how they started doing real estate, they started doing this, but you're the first person to acquisition talent that I've had. So what led you to this? And then not only what led you there, how did you make that leap?
Okay, so from when we last saw each other, or maybe not last saw each other, but from that position that I was working at with you, I like the project management world was all that I knew. I have a master's in project management, so I love organizing and planning things. And then one moment I was doing well in it, and then the next moment I was. So then I moved to Tennessee, and I started working for a church as a Christian education director. That didn't work out, and I was like, wait a minute now. I mean, I can do that in my sleep. Like the Christian education part of it, I could do in my sleep. So I'm like, what am I doing here? I was about to scurry back to Atlanta, and then I got an opportunity of a lifetime to actually work for this, for another company. As I started to work for that company, like within like 90 days, they actually promoted me to their COO. And so it started off with me planning and working through their processes. And because of that, they had, what they saw in me was that I could do that. And I was like, wow. So you go from like where you said that you had like the worst experience of your life. I had the worst experience of my life going to Tennessee to then feel like I had failed, to then get to this, and then the failure turned into like my biggest come up. You know, I was like a COO of a company. It was absolutely amazing. It helped me kind of like hone my skills. And so then I moved on to work for a commercial, like a coach, a business coach. And I worked for that business coach, and every time I would talk to other, like his clients, they were always talking about issues with paperwork, like back office paperwork and processes and procedures and all that kind of stuff. I started to also coach them as well, and I'm learning how to coach, working for a coach. And from there, it was like, I keep hearing, someone keeps bumping me in the head and telling me that there is a pain point. And business starts with a pain point. It starts with someone is in pain and they need you to fix their pain. They need you to move their pain away. And it was, okay, there's something unique inside of me that I know, I see issues, I see mistakes on paper. I'm able to see things, I'm able to create processes and everything. So it started from there. I started to say, okay, here's this business. But let me tell you what I did. It's like, I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. Like, you know, starting a business is hard. It's not easy. So I went to some, what I call they're like millionaire producers. They're millionaires, but they are $1 million producers. And I went to them, and I knew them from working with this coach. And I said, here's what is here in front of me. I think that there's an opportunity for me to start this business. But when I went to them for them to say no to me. I wanted them to say no, but every time I asked them, do you think that this is something that I could do? Could I start this business? They gave me another something. I left with more information. I left with a plan. I left with, they were like I was incubating with them, and they were telling me things that I should do in my business and opportunities that would be in front of me. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And from that, it was like five people. From that's how Girl Friday started, was knowing that there was a pain point. And then number two was going in front of people who were like the best at what they did, and ask them if they saw that in me. And then me leaving with kind of like the blueprint.
Now, did you speak to the coach you were working for at the time? Or
I did not.
You didn't present them?
Because, well, maybe I should, I'm going to say it. Like he, in some ways, I think he would have taken it over. I would have still been working for him. He would have found a way to make it him and not me. And so I was like, I could go to him, but if I did, I could not say that this was my business. I just believe that he would have taken it over.
And I've worked for other entrepreneurs, and you have some that would foster it and say go with it, and you have others, and not that there's anything wrong with it because that's how they see it.
You
That
know,
like they would,
yes.
and I honestly don't know if someone that was working for me came to me with something. I don't know if I'd foster them or say, oh, great, let's put that in place.
Well,
It's hard to tell.
Well, let me just kind of like say, while I was working with him, he had a meeting with me one time, and he was like, you know, I want to kind of like sit with you and talk about your millionaire plan, your $1 million plan to become a millionaire. And so he took me out to eat to do that, and I thought that was amazing. But I left the meeting realizing that I would never make $1 million working for him.
Yeah.
I could never do that. I would never duplicate that. And so it was amazing that he did that and that he saw that in me. It was also something that people had already said and already spoken to me. So when he met with me, I already knew that that was a part of God's plan for me, that this business was going to transcend. It was going to go past me, that it would live, right? And that not only would I be a millionaire, but I would be producing other millionaires. So I already knew that. But when he came to me, I was like, wow, he's just feeding into what's inside of me, but he's also showing me that it could never happen for him.
And so when you started, were you still technically working for him when you started taking on clients, or was it just a clean break?
It was kind of a clean break. I decided, I think it was 2000, I'm trying to think of the date, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I decided that I was going to leave. I gave him, because I was so important in his business, I gave him like 6 weeks notice. I mean, I gave him like a long, like 6 or 8 weeks notice. I was starting to kind of like, I think I may have had like 1 or 2 clients, but I'm telling you, it wasn't that much. And now that I think about it, I would say that I may have done things a little bit different. Maybe I would have waited and then saved more money. Because when you're trying to go out and start a business, it's not that what I did needed a lot of money, but you at least need capital to share your story, to do some marketing and things like that, more so than anything. And I didn't have any of that. So I had a couple of clients, and that was it.
How did you get those first clients?
You know, there were people that were in his clients that were basically saying, you have to go. Like they were pushing me, like, you have to go. But it was crazy because those same people who were like, you know what, you're better than this, like, oh, whatever, they were not my first clients.
Oh.
And so that is to tell you that even though people will shout to you and say how amazing you are and how great you are and go, 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 will be the same people that will go and hire someone else.
Yes.
And so I sat there, I was like, what have I done? Like, have I done the right thing? Have I really, I was really scared for a moment if I had done the right thing. But then those opportunities started to come. So my first client was a real estate person because real estate, and then it kept going. And I thought that I would be focused more on real estate, but I realized that I spent thousands of dollars marketing to real estate, but real estate didn't come to me as easy as I thought it would. And so I started to get other clients outside of real estate.
And now that first client, is it word of mouth? Someone introduced you?
I met that person through the actual program. She decided to not continue in the program with him.
Okay.
And so she called me one day, and I was telling her what I was doing, and she was like, I'm coming. I'm going to be your client. And then one day she was working on her real estate, and she had like maybe 10 files open at one time, and she called me. She said, I need to meet you. She said, I'm giving it to you. And she came in with like a big book of stuff, and I had never done one of those things before, and she was just like, I here you go. And that's how it got started.
Wow. Now I would think real estate would be a market that would take because there's a lot of realtors that are solopreneurs. That's just them.
Yeah.
But it seems like a business that has lots of paperwork.
Yeah.
And lots of other things that, in order to do your marketing and those other things. So it would seem like that would be people that would need you. What other lines of work did you find that they needed virtual assistants in?
Um, everyone needs really needs a, if you're in business, you do. So we are in all types of industries, insurance. We've had attorneys, need us for different things. Real estate is a really big side for us now. In the beginning it wasn't, and now we have real estate agents that use us for, we call transaction work, where we're actually doing their file work for them as they are going through the purchase of a home or the sale of a home. And then we have real estate agents that are using us for their like as an executive assistant. So we're like managing their schedules, we're working in their emails, we're doing different things. So we do that. We work with all types of different industries and everything, because everyone needs an assistant or an administrative person that they can trust to do the work.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love the name Girl Friday.
Yes.
How did you come upon that?
Okay, so one of the millionaire producers that I was talking about, we went out to lunch and I was talking to him about the business, and I was focused on that the business was going to be more on the real estate side.
Uh-huh.
So when I met with him, I had met with someone else, and they were encouraging me to not just do real estate, because real estate agents and the business is so fickle. One year you could have like 10 or 20 contracts, the next year you could have 5, and I would be the first one they would fire. You know what I'm saying? They would do their own contracts. So she was like, just don't do it. And so I met with my old boss, one of my old bosses, and I was talking to him about what I was doing, and he gave me some great advice. And then he was like, I was talking to someone else, and I was wondering if his person needed a Girl Friday. And I said, Girl Friday? What's a Girl Friday? And he was like, a Girl Friday is someone who's like an assistant. And I was like, never heard of that. He said, there's a movie out there. Go and find it. It's like a black and white movie. And that's how Girl Friday started, from him saying, does my assistant need a Girl Friday?
I was wondering if it was from the movie, but okay. I love that. I love that. So, okay. So when you're starting out and you said you've found this first real estate client, so now speaking to anyone in the audience or listeners that are saying, I want to be on this side, on virtual assisting, talent acquisition, what are the things that you figured you needed first? Now, were you doing some of the work yourself, or did you go and find talent first?
I was doing the work myself.
Okay.
But let me tell you something that blessed me. I had, right before I started the business, I had someone give me a book called the E-Myth book.
Okay.
E-Myth.
Yeah.
And I can only tell you that book helped me, because I went into my business understanding at some point I needed to hire, and I needed to work on the business, not in the business. So I didn't know when that was going to happen, because financially I was trying to save money and not spend money. But it just gave me like the wherewithal, or just at some point I'm going to get there. So the E-Myth helped me understand that I needed to work on the business. I was still doing the work myself, and then I took on an actual client that I would go actually into their office. This was before I made it. It was still virtual, but it was before I made it like where it's really truly a virtual company. Okay. So I was going into this client, and I was handling sensitive information. And I would go in there and I would sit in their offices, and one day the client came to me and said, we have someone that we feel like could work with you, and so they kind of like talked to me about it. They said, she is, she has some challenges, but we think that if you worked with her, that this would be really good for her. Like she would kind of like learn how to really be professional and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, okay. So at first she came on and she was just working with me. Okay. And then, so she was more of an intern. And then that opened up to her becoming like my first team member.
That she became part of your payroll.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I would assume that now that you have to physically go into a location, that probably means you can't do some of the other work you were doing as well for other clients.
Right.
So,
I had to, understand like what I was going to be. Like, I had a couple mishaps. Like, I went and got me an office and was like, okay, I'm going to be like, an office, and I didn't need to have an office because I'm virtual.
Yeah.
And so I went through like 6 months of 6 months of paying for an office that I didn't need. You go through those like bumps in the head where you're like, what am I doing? Like, I don't have back in the day you used to call it floss. What do they call it now?
Same thing. I don't know.
I don't know, but I didn't have to pretend to be something that I'm not. I mean, we are virtual, and so like that 6 months taught me that we can be virtual. That I didn't have to have an office to do what I do. There are some times when it's good to have to go some places or whatever, but it's not necessary and everything. So yeah.
Okay, and so what? If you're getting into this, what are because office now is what are the expenses? Like, what is the number one expense? Is it marketing? Is it to actual recruit the talent you're going to use? What's that first expense when starting something like this?
The first expense, because you're virtual, you really don't have the overhead. So that's an amazing thing. So it really is shouting as loud as you can who you are. So it has to be your marketing, making some noise in your marketing so that people know who you are and what you're doing. I think that was the biggest part of what I was spending, was that getting my website together. So marketing, establishing yourself as a business, and then you're off to the races.
So in those beginning days, how did you market yourself?
I marketed myself through, I had a list of people that I had met along the way. Okay. And so getting those people into some type of CRM so I could stay in contact with them and let them know what I was doing was really critical. Yeah. So having a CRM and having something that pushes you to kind of reach out to people. I created a plan of attack, sitting there and thinking that I needed to not only have a list of people, but identify who were the people who were cheering me on, who wanted me to succeed in life and all that kind of stuff. So I call those my cheerleaders or whatever. And so those people were treated different. I know I needed to have enough money to go on to lunch with them and to kind of keep in front of them, give them my business cards. My first client she would just be my cheerleader, and she would take my business cards with her and then pass them out when she was out and about. She just loved who I was.
This was a realtor.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And that's how it grew through all of those things. Me having my website and having some things that I was putting out there and posting and all that kind of stuff, and just letting people know what I was doing was one of the things. And being physically at locations. I would seek out networking events and things like that and make sure that I was there. Okay.
And now that brings me to this question was going to be 20 questions from now. But since you said it now, and we'll go back, in our current world, especially this last 18 months, I found with my own stuff, besides being an author speaker, I have my clothing line, Brolic, and physical events, 5Ks, fitness rallies. That's where we did great. It hurt us not being able to be places physically. How did you overcome that?
Well, let me tell you, I think that this is very important. I don't know, honestly. So let me tell you what happened. In 2019, this is the end of 2019, I was at the end. I was I'm exhausted, I'm tired. I don't think that I can do this business anymore. I felt like I was in a financial bind. It was emotionally tiresome. I was kind of at my wit's end and kind of at the end of my rope and saying, you know what, I think maybe full on entrepreneurship is not for me. You know what I'm saying? I was just I just don't know. And so I remember the end of 2019. I'm talking about those last 2 weeks of the year. So it's like Christmas and, going into New Year. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. I was just like, okay. I was on my couch and I was just like, I am done. And so I was praying about it, and then, God interceded and he gave me this scripture. And the scripture was more about like this, it was like this owner of this business, or the owner of the land, and then the person who was the land manager.
Okay.
And they were talking, and the owner wanted to actually cut off the tree. There was a tree that was not producing. And he was like, let's just cut this tree down because it's not producing anything. And the manager of the land was like, no, give me a year, let me till the land around it, and if it's still not producing, then we'll go ahead and we'll cut it down.
Okay.
And so I heard God say, give it a year. Well, I was like, I really don't want to do it, but okay, I'm going to do it. And then I met with my mentor. I went through like cutting off stuff, like things that didn't make any sense, just simplifying what we were offering. I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to just not have all of this stuff around. I'm going to just simplify. So we got rid of some things. Then February came and I started to hire some people. And then right after that, the pandemic happened. It was like quarantine, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I just hired people. I just went through this whole process. What am I gonna do now? Like, I was just ready to clinch, maybe tell the people that I just hired, like, okay, you're gonna have to sit it out for a moment. But there were other people that were reaching out to me that needed work, like just that quickly, like people that were working in schools and stuff like that. Like, nobody was working. I was like, I think we need to clinch up. And I saw a vision of a flower going through concrete. And I heard God say again, he said, if a flower can grow through concrete, so can business, so can you. You can advance in adversity. Like, keep going, don't clinch up, open up, and people will come to you and you're gonna be just fine. So I did the opposite of what was on my mind. My mind was to clinch up and just try to stay in this little small bit part of the business and just not say a word and just wait for business to kind of open back up. And that was not what he was saying to me. He was saying, open your mouth. Start talking about virtual business, because those people will be listening to you, because they need to now transition from working in the office to a virtual environment. So we were already the things that we already had all those things in play. So some of the businesses that were out there that were looking to make changes or looking to now become virtual, we were already virtual.
Already there, yeah.
So we were able to like talk about, like on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on our social media platforms, we were able to talk about like how to become virtual. We were like the thought leaders in how to be virtual and everything. And that really, I think, helped us because we were already positioned for it.
Yeah. You already had the blueprint.
Already had the blueprint.
Yeah.
So we 2020, we grew.
Okay.
Rather than, and that was because we didn't contract, we didn't come inside of ourselves, but we opened it up and we became a resource for people.
Okay. And I was going to ask you that. So, becoming a resource, and so, are you still in that realm? Because I guess becoming a resource, you become the resource for companies that say, hey, how do we start doing Zoom meetings instead of regular in-person meetings? Yeah, so I think that you start there, but the thing is that when you get momentum, you can't stay there. Momentum only lasts for so long. Yeah. People start to catch up. Like, okay, one day you have I don't know what the latest phones are, but like an Apple phone, and then the next couple of months you have another phone. Yeah. So people catch up, and and the awesome thing about our world now is that we catch up very fast. And we have kids
that know how to use the phones now and they have their own phones and everything. So we move very quickly. So I think you can, as a business, you have to make sure that you're never the momentum it took to maybe be the forefront doesn't mean that you have to stay there. Look at some of the, like, Netflix compared to, what was it? Blockbuster. Like, Blockbuster didn't know how to move forward.
Blockbuster laughed them out of the office when they said, this is where we see the world going.
Yes.
And they're like, no, that's never going to change. People are always going to want to come on a Friday night.
Always want to come on a Friday night. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so, now Netflix is the big thing. So you have to, now Netflix has the charge to continue to stay in front of what's happening or whatever. So we always find a way.
Okay. Well, that's great. And so now into 2021, almost into 2021, has 2021 been a good year?
It has been an amazing year,
okay.
but also in a different way. Like, so this year I decided that I wanted to take 2 weeks off for vacation for my birthday that was in May. And so this year has been a different transition. I was like, in so many like words, it's like the Lord of everything in my business. So everything came through me. Payroll came through me. All the things came through me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take 2 weeks off, and I'm like, how am I going to do that? So I then had to hire a COO, take one of my team members and say, okay, you're going to learn the business and learn what we do. And then I had to take the task that I was doing, because I should be working the E-Myth. I should be working on my business and not in my business. And I was already still working in my business, trying to save us money. So I decided I wanted to take those 2 weeks off, and then I decided I wasn't going to do it. And then they were like, you're still going to do it. And they pushed me to kind of train them on what I knew. Well, that replicated me. So this year has been a year of passing on the work so that I could work on the business and grow the business. So I took 3 weeks off.
Wow. Did you go somewhere?
I went to Florida for 2 weeks and then came back and was ready to go. But from there, I was able to transition, and then opportunities started to come for me to be more of a strategic planner for businesses. So that brought up the dollar amount that we were bringing in. So I would then actually help businesses strategically plan their business. They would pay me a fee to do that. And then I would introduce them to Girl Friday, to my company, to actually do their work for them. And so now, in June, my father got sick. I had 5 months of being here in Atlanta with him as he passed on. And my team were together, and I didn't have to do anything.
Wow.
So I was able to kind of do work leisurely. I was able to take on other businesses and do strategic plans for them. So now we're in a place that I'm free to work on the business, and now we're booming in a different way, because now I can start working on other things and other ways to get revenue into the business.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
And since you stopped there with bringing revenue into business, and because this is a teaching tool, the podcast is always, how does the revenue model work in this kind of situation?
Okay, so one is that we decided to kind of do it a little bit different. We wanted people, small business, to be able to slowly chew on us, give them milk and allow them to grow in us, right? So how we do it is we have people that come in and they do, they can buy 5 hours a time, 10 hours a time, 20 hours a time, 40 hours a time. And then we have it where they're able to not only do that, but we do short-term contracts, so 3 months contracts and things like that. Because sometimes you just need a project manager or an assistant for a couple of months, and not for the longevity or whatever. So we did that, and that was kind of hard, because most people want you to get into a long contract.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you don't like them.
You're stuck
And
in that
how
long
about we
contract.
don't like you,
Yeah.
and then we're stuck with you and you're stuck with us.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I don't want to be stuck, and I don't want you to be stuck. I want you to be happy and excited that Girl Friday is working for you. So we just decided to kind of like just make it easy. You start with 3 months, and then you just continue. And if you like us, you continue with us. If you don't, or if you need to move on because you don't have the funds, we just made it easy. So, so that is our kind of like how we do things. What I'm realizing is that I'm a gateway for my company to bring them more opportunities.
Okay.
So how I can be a gateway is I'm a strategic planner. Okay, so one way into the door is for me to meet with new executives, new business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, get in front of them, and then have like speaking engagements and things like that, and then push them back to me to actually have meetings with me to actually then pass them on to Girl Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way. And then I had someone that was working on the team, and then I promoted her to business development. So now she's taking on like LinkedIn and connecting to LinkedIn people that we're connected to, and trying to kind of like push that side of the business or whatever. And really kind of also connect with people that I've been connected to and try to like find out like what are other opportunities in there. And I'm also reading a book. I can't remember the name of the book, but this book that I'm reading is talking about how do you really focus on your non-customers, the customers that are like, you have your customers that you're focused that or the industries that you think you're focused on, but how about people that are not necessarily using a virtual assistant? How do you get in front of them? So one of the things that I'm focused on right now, I will give you this one, okay, is like the co-working spaces. Co-working spaces, they house my clients.
Yeah.
Okay? So wouldn't it make sense for me to connect with co-working spaces and see if there's an opportunity for me to go out there and speak to some of the, like do a class, do things or whatever at a co-working space? It makes sense for me to do that.
And that's a gem, and I want to make sure you run with that because someone else is going to hear that.
Yeah.
But you need to that is your perfect client.
That is my perfect client, and it's okay for them to do that because what I realize is that Girl Friday is Girl Friday.
Yeah.
We have our territory. I call it white space. It's white space that is open to us, and it's okay if we have people that are like, I'm not so like, they have their clients and we have ours. We're going to be doing similar things. But they're called to a group of people, and we're called to a group of people, exactly. and it's okay.
It is. So with this, so you have where you can do a 3-month contract. Do you guys also do a la carte stuff?
We do a la carte stuff. Trying to think, like, there are times when people don't want to actually go in a contract with us.
Okay.
So they're able to buy time from us.
Okay.
And then, so we had a customer who bought 100 hours.
Okay.
And that's what she wanted. She didn't want to be in a contract. Okay, so fine. And so we were able to kind of like help her with she had some social media things that she was doing. She was trying to connect with influencers. And so we took on that project and did well with it. She ended up buying like maybe 300 or 400 hours for us.
But you've been better to be in a contract?
That's exactly right. But if that's what you want,
that's what you want.
Go for it. We will take it and roll with it.
For example, what's a ballpark if you buy hours? What would that cost?
I don't mind telling. Okay, so so for 5 hours, I think it's $175. I don't know what that, I can't remember.
Total or per hour?
No. So if you buy 5 hours, a 5-hour package, that you pay $175.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
You buy 10 hours, you get $300. You pay $300.
Okay.
So that's like $30
so
an hour.
Okay.
So you get a break. So every step down or more hours that you buy, it's less money. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then, how does the pay structure work for the assistants? Are they on an hourly or are they per?
They are hourly.
Okay. And so when you need PMs, do you go looking specifically for PMs? How do you recruit?
I know, it's so funny because I was actually talking to my COO about this today. It's funny because we just start looking at like the holes that we have in our company, and we say, okay, it's time for us to hire. And then we start to hire, knowing that we need maybe an executive assistant. So the way that we have it set up is you come on as an executive coordinator, and then you move to a specialist, and then you move to a manager. That's how we progress within my company, right? So you start off as a coordinator. And then as you grow and you get to learn how to do the projects and stuff like that, and then you start to manage projects, you move up to a specialist role. And then you go to a manager, and then we have our C-suite, our group of people, like our leadership team or whatever. So,
what kind of stuff does a coordinator do?
A coordinator is working behind the specialist. So it could be anything from helping them with sending emails out to making phone calls or whatever it is. Like they usually work behind the scenes and are just taking on projects that the specialist can't do or may not have time to do, or maybe just training them to do, so that whenever it gets really big, they have some help. Right? So that is how we kind of like handle it. And so we know that we need so many people, I call it like on the bench, because we know that more work is coming. So we're always hiring that way. And it's amazing because we're hiring before the work comes. But also knowing that the work is coming. Like we know it's coming because we can project and see what's happening in the market and everything. And it's amazing that time we hire someone, like shortly after, we're like, okay, it's time to hire again. Like we keep adding people on the team. So we have about 14 people on the team now, and actually about to hire about three or four more people. Yeah. And
so do they average 40 hours a week? So
they are consultants. So what I find is that the people that work for us, they're consultants, and they want to have flexibility. Because a lot of them are, I would say probably a majority of them are millennials who have 1 or 2 children. Their husband is working. They want to work at home. They want to work from home and be able to take care of their children. The children could be in daycare or something like that, or they're at home with them, and they need to be at home, but they also want to kind of like provide for their family, but they also want to do something that's going to be, they want to still feel like they're a part of the world out there.
And at this point, are these people coming to you, or how are you recruiting?
So we've been recruiting in multiple different ways. Like we have people that are part of mothers groups, moms groups on Facebook and stuff like that, and they'll share that, and then they'll come back and say, well, we have someone that's interested. And then we've also been trying to kind of like nurture the relationships that we have within the company. Like, who do you know? And we start there. We start with, okay, we're hiring, we're actively hiring. Who do you know that may need this? And then if not, then get us, send out some messages to the moms groups that you're connected to. And then we usually get a good amount of people that will apply.
And now, when you have people that say, I need a PM for this, do they need to have a PMP? What is your customer looking for?
I don't know that they've ever asked us, do they need a PM? I just, going through the process, I can identify when it's going to be more than what an executive assistant would do. And when I do that, that's when I'm like, okay, so we need someone who has who is an executive assistant, but has the background or the knowledge to step up and do project coordination, right? So I don't think that I've ever had one client that asked that. I've been more like, okay, I need this particular person.
And now, but like you stated earlier, you had a client that was doing something through LinkedIn, needed some social media. Did you already have someone on your team? We're like, we need to go find someone who specializes in this social media.
Sometimes we do, but so I mentioned that we do executive assistant work, but we also do social media.
You do?
So it probably starts with the social media, like we have a social media team that works with us or whatever.
Okay.
And but years ago, how I did it was I just have a gift for being able to, like I called you, I sent you a message one day and said, hey, I think you need to do this. Like there was an iconic something, and I saw Janet Jack. I saw you. I saw something, and I was like, I need to send you a message and tell you need to do this, okay, or whatever. I think it was like, I think you need to have.
It was with the Pleasure Principle video. It was so fun. We were actually working because we had a crop top that looked like what she has on this video, and I think you saw that.
I saw that, and I was like, you need to do. You need to have one of your girls go around and doing the jacket and the Pleasure Principle or whatever. So I'm good at coming up with like ideas for projects and how to move yourself and how to make noise in your business through social media. That's what I'm good at. But I'm not a designer and I'm not a videographer, right?
Do you guys have content creators on the team?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay, so, but I kind of like cast the vision and then they create the content, right? Okay. So, and now they're good and they do their own, they cast the vision or whatever. But at first that was, and so like years ago when I first started the business, I actually was casting the vision and then I went to 2 partners and one was my designer who was designing for me.
Excuse me.
You're fine. And who was a designer who was designing for me and had actually designed my website and said, hey, I think that we have a product that could work. Do you want to partner with me? And you do the design. I'm going to do the actual connection or whatever. Yeah. And then I had a videographer, and I said the same thing. I said, hey, would you work with it? And we come into partnership together. Tell me your price. You tell me your price. I'm going to get my price together. I'm going to put this together into a package. Okay. And we had like 3 packages. We did that for a number of years. It went well, but we did it a little bit too cheap because we were trying to start off doing it for people. Yeah. And then you know how that is or whatever, because you can't stay there. You have to kind of, and when you're coming in the ground floor, sometimes you're trying to get traction. So you will price yourself lower and then you should be able to move yourself back up or whatever. So we did it for like maybe a year. It went really well. And then I was just like, we need to make money. Okay. Yeah. And then by then their business started to grow because of it. And so it just wasn't a good fit. Yeah. So now that's right. It wasn't a good fit for any of us. It was just like we could do this separate or whatever. And so then a year went by where I didn't do it at all. And then now I have the team. You have them in-house? I have them in-house or whatever. So we can do anything for social media now or whatever. And we primarily do it in Tennessee. Okay. But our customers are everywhere. And so now it's like, now I'm coming back to Atlanta. I'm going to be working a lot in Atlanta, so I get to kind of like do it here too, kind of my old stomping ground. Awesome.
We'll have to speak about that, offline because. Now, and I know it's a fine line, I met with a company, I'll say it's a company, and I know they're starting out, and so, they gave me a price, and it's like, I don't want people to come in too low, because I understand you have to make money, but their price was more than proven people I work with, so it was funny, because then I end up coaching them, because I'm like, guys, this price is a little too high and you don't have any proof. Like I'm all for taking a risk if you make a great pitch. The pitch was mediocre because I know where I want to go with the vision. I just literally do not have the time because I can't manage 3 companies. I can't manage the social media for all 3. So I need somebody just to do for just the clothing, just that. And they had some good ideas, but it's like you were saying, so sometimes you come in too low and then too high. You got to find that sweet spot. And I'm sorry, I was going somewhere with that, but we definitely have to speak on that because has that become a large percentage, or how's that side of the business growing? Because
it's growing amazingly. and that was the reason when we brought them on, the people on, they were actually just working for Girl Friday. This was Girl Friday. I'm not sure if you know that we did a new launch of our website. We did a new logo. We are like out there, out and about, and we're doing our thing. We're doing video now. We're doing all these different things. But right around that time was this opportunity that some of our clients started asking about social media.
Yeah.
So then we started to kind of like say, okay, if we're going to do this again, then we have to do it right, and it starts with us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the social proof right there, you know what I'm saying? And then now some of our clients are asking for it, and so that's the social proof there. So we're now building up that social proof that's needed to say, okay, here's where we are, where we were, here's where we are now, and this is where we're going. But it's been amazing to kind of like see it come back around again. We did it a couple years ago. We did well with it. We just didn't make any money in it. Yeah. And now doing it like the right way. You have someone, you have a brain that really thinks outside of the box. And then you have these people that are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
So when you have that, you can be confident about actually putting a price down that you know that you can feel comfortable with, and not just say I was putting something together, but know that you have something to offer. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. So great. And you had so what else do you find the new age customer besides social media? What else are they asking for besides just someone to manage their calendar?
You know, they usually ask us as an assistant for anything and everything. Like, I mean, we had one client that really started to treat us more as a personal assistant. So like scheduling his food to come, every week through Hello whatever, and then he had us like sending like flowers to his girlfriend or whatever. He was using us more of an assistant or whatever. And that's fine because, executive assistants, they do that for their, they do that. And then, the biggest thing has also been CRM stuff. And so that's your client relationship management system. Like they want to be able to connect with their clients and then also be able to keep up with their, with prospects and stuff like that. So kind of coming up with, like emails that need to go out, when they need to go out, like staying connected to people is becoming a more of an in thing these days.
And I was going to ask you that. Do you guys have your own CRM?
We don't, although that would be a great idea, and it's been something that I've thought about over the years. But no, we don't have a CRM system, but we use a number of them.
Okay.
There are plenty of CRM systems out there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So and it's one of those things, I don't know if it's worth the expense to do it just to put your name on it, or you honestly don't know.
Well, one of the things is I believe in partnerships, so it could very well be that like we sell your CRM system, we know it or whatever, and sometimes they'll give you like finances for like selling their stuff or whatever. So becoming more of a partner. We could do that. And you know how they always, these places out here they want you to tell other people about them. And
I know someone who's recently built one.
Okay.
And I am doing some what's the word I want? Some affiliate marketing for him starting soon. But I'm going to introduce you to, because he's in Tennessee. I just thought about that.
Yeah.
But he has a pretty cool young African American gentleman that's solo company, but built his from scratch. He had worked for some other software companies, but he has a pretty cool system. So I will make that introduction.
You just never know what's out there, because so you know how people are out there and they will have someone with their name on it or whatever as their whatever. So you just never know what could happen.
Yeah. That's what I don't know if that's an upsell.
A Girl Friday for a Girl Friday version of his.
Yeah, because I always think that is a great upsell when you're getting, the Girl Friday text app or
That's
whatever.
exactly right.
And so
Yes.
now with Girl Friday, you can stay in touch with all of
I would
all of
love
your
that. I
customers,
have
yeah.
thought about that over the years, is that I would love to have an app. Right now we're using other people's things, and when you're using other people's things, there's always a chance. Remember how Facebook was out a couple weeks ago? You know, now we don't communicate with our customers through Facebook, but how many people were like, and had issues for being able to connect with their customers?
Yeah, there's people I know in retail and drop shipping that they market and they sell to all their customers through Facebook Market Space.
Own your own stuff.
Yeah, or
own your own stuff.
WhatsApp was out that day, and I know people that sell to international customers, and they were down a whole day.
A whole day.
Yeah.
Own your own stuff. Have your own website. When it's feasible for you to own your own stuff and be able to communicate with them, you just never know when there's going to be a time when you don't. Like, have your stuff, like, you know, in multiple different places, not just on a Google Drive, because you never know if Google Drive will go down, or something will happen where that cloud space, well, not the cloud space, but just being on a cloud, when there could be something infiltrated or something that happens. So you definitely need to protect yourself.
Definitely. Now, 4 years into the business, I know you had that 6 months when you said, "Oh, we're in an office." Are you still completely virtual, or have you gone, now that your team has grown, have you gone back to an office, or are you still virtual?
Completely virtual. I work from home. It's so wonderful. The amazing thing is, like I said, like, you know, when you're working virtual, it's like, okay, my father was sick for 5 months. I was here in Atlanta the entire time. You know, I didn't have to, you know, or whatever. The awesome thing is that a lot of the stuff that you can do on your phone, you know what I'm saying, these days. So it's just like, you know, I had my laptop with me. At some point, I used to roll my laptop in and out of the hospital. And then at some point, I said, why am I doing this? And I stopped taking my laptop up there and just had my phone, you know, for calls and things like that. But my team was amazing. So succession plan, having people that know what is happening in your business so that you don't have to be there, is key. That's what I've learned this year.
Okay. And, you know, I'm, you know, the whole time you've been speaking, I've been making some notes. And one thing I wanted you to touch on that, I liked what you said when you talked about the people you spoke to beginning that fed life into you. And, but then also you talked about meeting with a coach and mentor. And if you've ever, I hope everybody's out there watching my personal vlog or seeing, but one thing I thought was one of the reasons why I was not where I wanted to be this year, that in the last 6 months of this year, is I've really worked hard on getting coaches. I've never had a mentor, I would say a business mentor. And so I've realized the importance of that. And you mentioned it 3 or 4 times, what you said. So, from your standpoint, what's the importance of a mentor or coach?
They can see things that you can't see. Okay, so there are different vantage points in your business. Like, when you're working in your business, you're working in the weeds, right? Yeah. So you're doing the work, the busy work. And when you're doing the busy work, you can't see out here. Yeah. And then there are people that are skilled enough to see out there. Okay, so there's like levels of that, right? Yeah. So the same thing goes, like, okay, like there are times when I'm driving and I almost hit this car because this car, they're in my blind spot. I cannot see. And so it's the same thing is that your coach, your mentor, or whoever is talking to you, they should be able to see more than what you see. Like, the people that I talked to before I started my business, they were able to help me see the possibilities of my business. I left there with ideas and strategies for my business, right? And then, but they're not going to stay with you. They're just there for the intellectual side of it to help you kind of like see things, or to maybe not see things, but to grasp that there's so much more out there if you would just go for it, right? Yeah. And then you have like mentors that stay with you. And my mentor, he just has a mind for business. So like whenever I'm thinking about something, gosh, when I go to him, I could think that it's gonna, okay, like I said, I wanna be a millionaire. Or I wanna be a $1 million producer. And I'm like, how in the world am I going to be $1 million producer? And he will say, well, you only have to sell 10, and he'll like cut it up for me and say, it's not that hard. You just need to have 10 people buy whatever, or whatever dollar amount that is, or 20 people buy this dollar amount or whatever. And he just cuts it up into something that's manageable for me. Because I'm looking at how big this goal is, and he's looking at it's not as hard as you think it is. So my mentor is that person that does that for me. And then you have your coaches. I don't think I have a coach right now, but that coach is that person that when you need someone to kind of like help you like establish your goals, and then helps you kind of like come up with a strategy around it a little bit, right? And kind of like cheers you on to do the work. I don't actually have one of those because I have a leadership team. Okay. And so we're always working together to come up with strategy, like planning how we're going to do things and what our goals are and things like that. So if I were to have any questions about how to do it, I would probably go to my mentor and say, mentor, hey, I need you or whatever. So you have the people that meet, okay, a good, one more example. Every time, one of the things that was my major problem my first year of my business was that I was always like, I was like Burger King, you could have it your way. And so I would go into these meetings not having any kind of like plans or, like different things or whatever. And so if someone wanted to buy what I was selling, I would have to go home, try to figure it out, customize the offer, and then send them the offer. By the time I did that, they were cold again. You know what I'm saying? And then they were like, okay, well maybe later or something like that. So one of my mentors, he called me one day. He was like, why don't you, I'm doing this meeting where I have like 4 or 5 like entrepreneurs that are working in business, and why don't you come and be a part of this with us? And and I'll teach you, and we'll show you something. Like we have meetings I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, okay? And I'm like, I would wait. I was like, why am I getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Monday? But I would take my tail up there every day, every time we had a meeting, just to like soak it in or whatever. So I would go into this meeting, and one of the first things that I realized was that I was doing business wrong. I didn't have a package. Everything was so custom, and if I didn't learn anything from this man, but he taught me my packages. Like the 5, 10, and 20, 40-hour packages came from being in that meeting with him and learning that you need to have a package. You need to have packages, like a small package, a medium package, a large package, at least 3 packages for everything that you're selling. That everything can't be custom, because when it becomes custom, how are you going to duplicate it? I mean, the reason why McDonald's is the best at what they do, you can find the movie. I can't think of the name of the movie.
Founder.
Okay, but the reason why they are good at what they do, and the reason why people go there is because they have duplicated it. They have a certain amount of ketchup, certain amount of mustard, and they have it together. That is the reason why they are a billion-trillion-dollar company. And the only time that McDonald's doesn't work is when we come in and say, can you please take the ketchup and the mustard off and give me mayonnaise? When we start putting our little like customizations in it. But they already have the plan, and that's the reason why time and time again that people will get in that line to go to McDonald's, even though it's like sometimes you want to strangle people. And now look at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, I will get in the line and sit in there and wrap around the building because I like how they treat me. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you need to have a business that's the processes in what you're doing have to be duplicatable, and you should be able to duplicate that over and over and over again to everyone that your clients, it doesn't mean that you're never going to be custom. Sometimes you have to be. But
Custom comes with a price.
Custom comes with a price.
Yeah.
With a nice price.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. How did you find your mentor that you currently still have?
You know, I am a speaker, so I met him at I was a Toastmaster.
Oh, okay.
And so I met him at Toastmasters, and then we just became friends.
Okay.
But he would always, like, when we would meet or get together, he would always have, like, the next step for me.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the next step for me. I haven't seen him in a while, but the last time I saw him, he was challenging me. And he's always challenging me. I'm like, oh my God, I'll leave him. And I'm like, I've been in the fire. He was like, 90% of what you do, okay, I want you to get to a place where 90% of what you do is in your sweet spot. That sweet spot for your business. You're not working.
Yeah.
You're just facilitating the business that comes through. And it could take me 2 years to get to, like, he'll leave me something, and it may take me 6 months before I see him again, and I'm like, I've implemented this or whatever. But this bigger idea that he gave me, like maybe a year ago, I still have not figured out how to get to the place where I am not working really in my business, but my sweet spot of being whatever that sweet spot is for my business, that I'm doing it 90% of the time, and that's all I'm doing.
Okay. I like that.
How do I get there? I'm still working through it.
Yeah.
I have not met with him in over probably a year, and I still have not gotten to that place of just being very consistent about not working in the business. Now, I will say I'm getting closer. Like, I may meet him sometime next year and say, hey, I'm over here, and I'm not doing anything in the business, and I'm in that treasure spot that Girl Friday and Takisha Bromell Enterprises needs me to be in, where I'm pretty much maybe just doing speaking engagements. And from those speaking engagements, people are contacting my team for all of the contracts.
Exactly.
And that's all I'm doing.
And so let's touch on that very briefly.
Okay.
Takisha Bromell Enterprises, what is that? Is that just the company based around your speaking?
That's exactly right. My speaking and my coaching and things like that. And you know, I've written a couple of books, and so my books and all the creative side of me, that's what that is. I will say that my team is kind of like pushing me. Like, we just created like it's like a deck for like my presentations and things like that, and so they're pushing me to go further into that this year. So where this year has been more about me like letting go and working on the business, next year is about exposure. It's about getting out there. Like, I have my team that's reaching out to other, it's like borrowing someone else's viewership.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I am borrowing the people that are going to watch your show and then want to connect with me. And that's the same thing that goes, what you should be doing when you're wanting to speak and everything, is borrowing that person's platform.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing next year.
Awesome. We're going to speak about that as well.
That's exactly right.
Because I do need some help. And it was like we had such great momentum, and then Rona hit, and it just killed all that. But 2022 is looking wonderful.
It's looking wonderful.
So definitely. Yeah. So with all of this, whether it's speaking or talent acquisition through running a virtual assistant company, what is a gem? What is a bar? What is something you can leave us with? Like how do we just even get started, or just get started in general? Like, what would you say there?
That you get, okay, so when I started, like I was saying before, I started with the idea, and then I was kind of somewhat in an incubation period where I was still trying to figure it out, and I could only hear from only a few people, and those people were other, like, businesses that were they were businesses. They were people who were $1 million producers who were millionaires. I had access to them. Not everyone's going to have access to them, but you have people that you know are legitimate business owners that you can go and share an idea with or whatever, and you know that you're going to get tremendous feedback. So it starts there. Is that place where you're really trying to figure out if it's a good idea, right? And then from there, it is like I jumped and only had a couple of customers. I think I may have changed that. I would have changed that just a little bit and waited a little bit to have the funding to do that. But I have so much that I've learned through that process. So would it have? I don't know if they would have changed anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure about that part of it. But it was me kind of like saying I'm gonna go, and then just going. The other part is making sure you have your packages together before you go, and also make sure that you at least have, I would say like at least 6 months to maybe 12 months of income that's sitting there before you just jump and go anywhere. Like I jumped without all of that and I'm okay, but I have some burns and some stories.
Scrapes and bruises.
Some scrapes and bruises that may not have happened if I already had that money. Because let me tell you, one of the biggest things that I have learned is capital, is that it is hard to have revenue because people will pay you late and you still have to pay your people.
Yeah.
So the revenue to be able to pay your people on time, and then also when people are late paying you, that's hard for African American business. It is hard. Like if I had one thing that I would like to do as I grow in business is to help African American businesses with that, is the revenue and the capital that's needed to actually fund and help you.
Yeah.
You have a contract, you know the money is coming, there's a delay in the money. Can you get through that? Can you pay them on Friday? Like I was able to pay my team on today.
Yeah.
But can you do that? And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do.
You can't.
And a lot of times we can't. And there were times where I remember in the early days where I would be like, oh my God, it's Friday. And the money started rolling in on Friday. So I could pay it. And I was like, oh, I remember one time I called this is like 2 or 3 years ago. I called my pastor and I was like, the money's not coming. Is there a way that I can get maybe a loan or something? Mm-hmm. And I literally said that to him. Wait a minute. I was going to say that to him. I was actually calling him and he didn't answer the phone right away. And it was that morning and I was calling him and he didn't answer. And then like maybe an hour later, the money started flowing in. And the money started flowing in. And I didn't need him anymore. And then he called me and I was like, oh my God, like the money just started flowing in. I really don't need it. I got it. But it was a Friday and I'm waiting for the money.
Yeah.
And what if my pastor didn't have it or whatever? Yeah. Whatever. So I've been in those places where you're like, what are you going to do? And that is the most critical part. If I could save anyone, any energy or any suffering, it is having. I don't use credit cards. I didn't do the PPP. Yeah. Because I didn't want to borrow, because that borrowing can get, like, you can start out here and then the next thing you know you're $100,000 in debt or whatever, and I just did not want that for myself or my business. Yeah. But on the other side of that is being able to pay your bills.
Yeah.
And so you have to have some money set aside for that. Save yourself time and energy by having that money set aside, because it was hard.
Yeah. No, I'm there. I've been there and I'm still there.
Yes.
So yes, I know that. this is like, I so look forward to this.
Mhm.
I think we're going to be working together soon, so we'll
I
have
know,
to
yes.
re-up and do this again
Mhm.
in 6 months or so.
Mhm.
Please tell us where we can find you. Tell us where we can find Girl Friday.
Okay.
We will have links. If you're watching this on YouTube, of course, there will be links in the description.
Mhm.
But to all our listeners, tell us where they can find you and Girl Friday.
So it's very easy. GirlFridayBusinessSolutions.com, and that's our website. And that, remember I was saying that how we just revamped our website and
I
everything.
saw it the other day. It looks great. Yeah.
And then that would be on also Girl Friday Business Solutions on our Facebook page, you know, and then also LinkedIn, and then Takisha Bromell, and I think it's Takisha.Bromell is my actual Instagram. It's
yeah.
Instagram, Takisha.Bromell, and then Takisha Bromell on Facebook. So pretty easy to find me.
Well, great. Thank you so much. You've left us with a lot.
Yes.
I can't wait to touch base. Oh, real quick. So, are you? I know what you said you were working towards. Are you there or almost there to being $1 million producer?
I'm not there. It's a work in progress. It's so awesome because now that I have the right people in place, and now that I have let go of working in the weeds and I'm working on the business, I'm anxious to see where we get to next year.
Awesome.
Now, I remember like 2 years ago, I saw someone post and say, "You're not a business if you can't do this." It was like it's 5 or 10 things, and I have it saved on my phone. And it was like you had to be past $100,000 a year, and you had to be all these kind of things. And I was like, I kept marking my little list off or whatever. But the biggest list was that $1 million producing business. And now I feel like there is no limit because I'm in my rightful place. Now if I can get to the 90%, that 90% and 10% thing,
Yeah.
I think I would then be in the best strategic place for my business. But I'm there now.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
That was awesome. Well, we're gonna check back in
Yes.
6 months.
Let's do that. Let's go
And-
ahead and put that on the calendar.
Yeah,
'cause
let's put the-
I can't wait to show you where I'm at.
I think
Yeah.
you'll be there. I have a
Mhm.
feeling. I think you'll be there. We're gonna check
We're on
back.
the color.
We're gonna
Yes.
check back spring of 2022, and I
Yeah.
think we will be there.
Mhm.
Guys, as always, I am Justin Hall, the Grind Producer. This is the Grind Chronicles. Thank you. We're in Zanai Studios. Thank you, Franklin Brown. Today we are in these lovely studios. Good old RDA, Ralph David Abernathy, Southwest Atlanta.
Southwest.
Thank you for hosting us. Yeah, the SWATs. Thank you for hosting us today. Our music is by Steel Frame Productions. You can catch us Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, all of those fun places. And guys, as always, we drop every Monday, 8 a.m. and we will see you soon.
Bye.